Welcome to Excellent Stitches Couture. Today I'll be drafting a trouser. Now for this trouser tutorial, first thing I do is to draw a vertical and horizontal line. These vertical and horizontal lines are the two lines that helps to guide the other lines you'll be making, to make sure you have a straight ruling at the end of everything. Now some persons don't use ruler to rule their lines, they do their freehand. It's still okay if you like it, but what ruler does to your work is that it helps you get straight and accurate measurements, straight lines, precise lines. Now after doing the lines, I go over to my waist. For the waist of my client, his waist is 40, so I'm going to divide 40 by 4. I put in 1.5 inches to it, or 2 inches depending on how you want it. I mark it. Now to get the square part where we go to the crotch length, I use the same thing I got. 40 divided by 4 will give me 10 plus 1.5, 11.5. I mark it all around to get that perfect square I need. Now for some persons, they say this square part work perfectly for them. It's almost the same thing if you divide the waist. For those of you dividing waist by 4 plus or minus, if you look at it, it's the same measurement you're going to get. The major thing is do what works for you. After that, I extend the crotch line because that's where I'm going to get the tie. For the client I'm working with, he has a pot stomach, a big stomach. So for that reason, I'm going to take out 1 inch. I'm supposed to take out 1.5 inch, but I choose to take out 1 inch because of how the stomach curves. After taking 1 inch, I draw the line to the front panel where it meets. So after this now, I'm going to proceed to the next measurement. For the next measurement, I'm going to be taking the tie or the lap, whichever way you call it. For the tie, I have 30. For tie 30 divided by 2, I have 15. Now I'm going to mark it 15 inches. The extension from where that line meets, you measure it and you take it up. After that, you do a curve. If your hand is straight, you can use your hand to draw the curve. If your hand is not very good with curves, please use a curve ruler. After that, for this part, this is very crucial. Some persons measure from this line here to the edge, while some measure the full tie and divide by 2. For me, I always measure the full tie divided by 2, but for this tutorial, I'm trying out another measurement, another cutting pattern I saw by Vinci Clothings. He measured from that dot down, and that's why I decided to give it a try also. As tailors, we need to learn different methods and see the one that is best for us. So after that, I divided it by 2. I took my length measurement. The length is 40. I added 2 inches to it to make it 42. That's a 40 and that's a 42 line. The extra 2 inches I added here is for the folding allowance. Now for the knee, I always divide my length measurement by 2. Sometimes I take away 1 inch. That's how I get my knee. I don't actually take knee measurements on the body. Yes, I use my calculation like that to get the knee. For the calf, some persons do calf measurement, but I don't do calf measurement. I just fit it in with my curve rulers, and it have always worked for me. So after that, the same measurement I got when I divided the thigh, I take it down to the knee and to the ankle. I roll it up, making sure I have the middle line. Now what this middle line does is, some persons will say, is there any need for putting these middle lines? For me, I will say yes. It helps to guide the two parts of the trouser you're drafting, to make sure the 2 parts stays at the middle. Else, you're going to be drawing one side, either to the right or to the left. After that, my knee measurement for this cloth is 23. So 23 divided by 4. You play 23 divided by 2 first. Now that measurement it gives you, you want to place it at the middle. So the half measurement divided by 2 will give you the middle. Place that middle point. You see me carefully doing it. Place that middle point there. Then mark the 2 edges You just mark the two edges, but make sure you place it at the middle before getting the two edges. I go now down to the ankle. For my ankle, the person is kind of big in the leg, on the leg side. So his foot is 15 and a half actually, because he wants it a bit not too tight. I would have used 15, but he said I should increase it small, so I used 15 and a half. Now 15 and a half also divided by 4. First you divide by 2, then divide the other 2 measurements, making it sit at the middle. When you get the measurement, you impute it this way, and you impute the same thing you have there on the 2 inches allowance you added for the hem. This is one important part of me when I'm cutting my trousers. For some persons, they use a long ruler and draft out from the and rule from the foot there to the knee or the calf. They just rule it straight like that from knee to calf, from knee to calf. But if you are cutting like that, it means at the foot you have to do a V cut so that the down part can suit in the up part. If you see, I wanted to do it, but I said no. I like my own trouser foot from down coming straight, which means I don't do the V cut, so you know what you are doing. The measurement I have on the foot, see me imputing it up here on the knee. I'm not drawing it to the knee, but I'm using it as a guide to get that straight foot, the straight cut, where this foot I have, the 2 inches foot, will be able to lap the upper part when I fold it without having creases, those squeezes you're seeing. That's why I use it as a guide. You see, I went up to about 5 inches. Now from there, I will now start my own curve. This is how I do my trouser. Whichever way you cut your trouser and it works for you, is fine. But for me, I prefer it this way instead of doing that V cut at the edge. I like it this way. After then, I went up to the knee, and from the pocket line, I went down to make sure the 2 lines meet. Now for the other zipper part, I went straight using my curve. I don't use straight ruler for this. I like using my curve ruler to make sure I meet up the lines. I like my lines going how will I put it? I like it going in a fine curves. I like, after drawing my lines, let me have a fine curve. Those curves gives me joy. So after that, for the pockets, I dart it by 8 inches. It's a matured person. For a teenager, you can use, depending on how old the teenager is, at least from 15 years above, 8 inches is okay. There are some children from even 12 years, you can also use 8 inches. But from 10 years below, I like using 7 inches or 7.5, depending on the length of the person I'm sewing for also, and where the crotch length stops. So this is me cutting according to the lines. Now in this cutting, you have to be very careful. The lines you drew is where you cut from. Don't add, don't subtract. Don't add, don't subtract. So after cutting the front, I'm going to go over to the back. Okay, after this, I'm going to take the front part and place it at the back. Depending on the fabric you're using, if it's a fabric that have design and you want to place it according to the design, you have to be careful to place it to suit. For this part, you can see me cutting from the edge. The reason is I want, when I put the measurement, everything just align, rather than trying to get the curve perfectly using different inches, which I'm going to be talking later. Now after this part serves as my zipper flap. I'm going to extend the lines for the thigh, and I will extend the lines for the foot. After the extension, I'm going to add 2 inches to the foot, and I'm going to add 3 inches to the thigh, because the hip of the person is 44, and I want it to sit very well. He does not want the trouser too tight. After this marking, I'll adjust the trouser to the point. Now, the importance of marking it like this is that it helps the back to just align. It gives you a perfect back fitting. Instead of you doing the other way we used to do, the one I learned before, where you just put it that way, you start drafting 2 here, 3 here, 2.5 here. No, As you put it like this, the back piece will just align. Now if you look at the measurement, this is 2 inches. The middle will not be 2 inches. The middle will accelerate from 2.1, 2.2 till it gets to 3 inches. That's the better part of this pattern of cutting. Now after this, I'm going to now take the measurement of the hip. Don't forget, with this, the hip is already assured that you get it. No matter how big the person's hip is, if you use this method, you achieve the hip very well. Now, what I'm going to do is, for my hip line, I use 7 inches for the hip line, because that's the fullness of the hip. So for the 7 inches, now the hip is 44. I have marked out the 7 inches for the hip. I measured the 44 divided by 2, I get 22 for the hip. So I want to see where 22 stops. So if I put the first one gave me 11 and a half. I take the tape back to 11 and a half, and if you see, that's where I have 22. If you watch the other pattern of trousers some persons draw, you see them go inside by half inches. Some of them do this calculation from half inches outward. But for this one, I'm not doing that pattern. So this is where my 22 is, and this is the normal measurement for the hip if I am to draw accordingly. But remember, this measurement I'm doing now, the hip measurement, there is no seam allowance to it, or sewing allowance. So since there's no sewing allowance, I need to add the sewing allowance, which is the seam allowance. To add the seam allowance, you can decide to add 3, 2.5, 3, 4. 4 should be the highest you should add, unless you want it to be very bulky at the hip. So I'm going here by 1 inch. From this 1 inch, actually, I don't like measuring this part you see me doing now. Sometimes I go in by 1.5, 1.1, 3/4, but I don't really like it. Once I put my 1 inch, anything I get, I trace it down to that thigh point. That's how I get that part. Then I do my curve from there. At the upper part, I'm just going to go up by 1.5 inch. I always go up by 1.5 inch or 2 inches. Some persons go in by 2 inches, 2.5 inch, and so by going by 1.5 or 2 inches. For this particular trouser, I'm going in up by 1.5. After that, you just cut it. And this is all about the male trouser. This part you see me cutting goes for the pocket side piece. I'm going to use it for the side of the pocket. But in case you have excess fabric and you don't want to use a lining for the pocket, you want to use the same fabric for the pocket, then there is no need of you keeping this one now. You can just trash it. But because I'm going to be using a black lining inside for the pocket, I need this piece to cover that front side, so the black doesn't show at the front. That is the work of this side piece you're seeing. So after that, I do the cutting of the trouser, and that's end the case. Thank you for watching.